Hello everyone. Today we will complete our computer science paper of May 2021. So let's start. The first question begins with compute the following table by giving the appropriate data in each case. So we have given the variables and example data values. So we have to choose the data type. So when there is a alphabetic, so this must be the data type is string. When there is a number, so this is basically integer. When there is a true or false, yeah, one or zero, so it's basically the Boolean algebra. And when there is a specific date given, so the data type is the date. So just you have to write it. Basically it's the string. Okay, the string. This is string. This is basically one is a number. So number is an integer. So it's the integer. Integer. Now the true false basically is the Boolean. Boolean. And this is basically the date. So the data type is date. These are basically four different types of variables. So this question is completed. Now move towards question number 1 part 2. So this is basically the expression, and now we have to evaluate it whether it is a number or something else. So modified or index is greater than 100. So basically index is not greater than 100, the evaluation means this is the false. So the answer of first one is the false. The false. Now length, that is student name. Basically it shows that we have to count the length. So the total count of length is basically 18. So the answer is 18. Now integer index plus 2.9. So this basically means that the value generally is uh, 2 and 9, and then we have to 2 and 9, then when we sum the value, that is 2 and 9, so this is basically the 11, and then make of that is this value is greater than 100, so it must be 102. Okay, and then mid name, and this means that the cat, that is there is a semicolon and with a semicolon. So this is basically is the how to solve, or how to solve that the what the value expression means. So this is the easiest part of the paper. Now for the question number B. So B basically, when there is an index and index plus one. So what does this mean? And whether it is selection, assignment, and iteration. So where there is a, this means that index having some assigned value. So this is basically is the assignment. If modified, that is true. So basically this is the selection, and while means that we have to iterate our value when in case when there is no, so you have to and the iteration, otherwise you have to run the iteration whenever the loop is correct for the given value. So it is basically the type of iteration. So this is the basically you have to tick the whether the statement is selection, assignment, or iteration. Now for the next one, examine the following state transition diagram. So this state means there is an x value of s1. So this will low value detection, that is activate pump. This activate pump will go to the s2, and there is a low level detector is also coming and input and output both from s2. Then this s2, the output is normal level detected or deactivated pump. Then this will go to the S3. Then this S3 basically got two values, that is from S1 and S2. S2 also have normal level detection. So S1 having the output that is normal level detection, and the S2 having normal level detection or deactivated form. So basically this is the a simple state transition diagram which shows that the following processes uh, is coming with some important output. So compute we have to complete the table with the reference of the diagram. Now, the number of transitions that result in a different state. So how many transitions are there? That is, there are basically low level detection, normal level detection, and there is normal level detected, that S1, S2, and S3 basically are the three different uh, solutions that are following input must compute. So the number of transitions, the state is basically one, two, and the third one, or the path it covered, that is first one, second one, and third one. So basically the number of transition is three. The number of transition with associated output, yes. So the associated output number of transitions are basically, this is S1 and S2 are the two major transitions that is associated with the output. So they must have there are two outputs. The label that should replace X. So basically X is basically the input or start. So it must be replaced with start, and the final or halting state must be, this is the final state, that is S3. S3 is the output of all. So S3 is the, so this is the solution of this part. Now for the next one, the current state is S1. The following inputs occur: low level detection, low level detection, low level detection, and low. There are 4 points that shows that low level detections. Now what to do? We have to name number of outputs and current states. So number of outputs are basically one, and the current state basically, the current state is S1. So current state is S1. So the after this one, this will number of detections. So the this will pass to the S2. So the basically the current state is S2. Is just a minute. First, the basically it says that there is low level detection. Okay, low level detection means this is the start, and it passes from low level detection also low level detection. Okay, this is basically two ways of low level detection. So after a particular start, okay, this will cover this started S1, and it is passes through low level detection, and the current state must having the S2. So for the answer, so for the number of outputs, basically low level detection number of outputs is one, and the current state is S2. So this is the answer of this question. Now, a system is being developed to help manage book loans in a library. Registered users may borrow books for the library for a period of time. State three items of data that must be stored for each loan. So basically, what is use three items of data that must be stored. So you have to manipulate our data. So first must be user name. user name, or sometime user ID. Now the second must be first the username. Second must be because there is a library and user borrows the book, so there must be book ID or book specific number. Book ID or book name. Okay. Now the third one is basically the loan. So the date of loan. This must be date of loan. Okay. So basically the three items of data that must be stored for each loan. So first must be user ID or username. Second is the book ID or book name, and third must be date of loan. It must be return date, starting date. Okay, so basically it's the that that you must have to follow. Now for 2B, state one item of data that will be required in the library system but does not need to store for each loan. So there must be many examples, but must be the data that is not required for the loan, but which would be required somewhere by the library. So must be data related to the users, books or loans. So username, it must be something that is address, user address, user address, user phone number, or you have to choose only one. So it must be user address, user phone number, user email. It depends on you. Okay, or return date, length of loan. So you can mention every whatever, but must be relevant to the question. So the next part, one operation that manipulates data stored for each loan would produce a list of all identify two other operations, operation one and operation two. So what must be the operation? So many examples include and also this. So operation must one must be create loan, return book, send email. So this must be operation must I for example it's return book, return book, and for operation two, um, send email, uh, basic, just send email, or history of work. It totally depends on you. Okay, so these are basically the question number two and of question number two. Now question number three. The following diagram represents the abstract data type ADT. So there must be a that is input, dolphin, car, fish, and elk. So identify the type of ADT. First question is, so what is basically is the type of, it's basically is the link from one part to the another. So it is basically linked list. It is the linked list. Give the technical term for the item labeled A in the diagram. So A basically is the start pointer. A is the start pointer. Start pointer. Give the terminal B label. So B label. Explain the meaning of the value given in this item, term and meaning. So basically it's the null pointer. Null pointer. So meaning that there must be no further nodes. There are no further nodes in the list. So this is the question number two, question number three, sorry, question number three. Now move towards the next part of question number three. Now complete the diagram to start editing after data has been stored in the alphabetic order. So how to start? So alphabetic. So it must be first this data, that is the A. A is basically the start pointer. This basically goes to, now we have to alphabetic, that is alphabetic order. The alphabetic order. So it must be go from A to cat, and this A, now after C there must be D. So A, then this cat must go to the dolphin, that is D. A, now there must be the fish. So this E, after D there is E, so E must be elk. So this go to the here to here, and the output of this go to here to this. So this is basically the alphabetic order of the arity system. Now move towards the next question. A teacher uses a paper-based system to store marks for each class test. The teacher requires a program to assign grades based on these results. The program will output the grades towards with the average marks, right? Detailed description of the algorithm that will be needed. So detailed description means, so you have to start your algorithm. So first you have to refer variable for count of students and total marks. Okay, then loop through all students, that loops, that is count. Third is the input individual marks, that is in loop. Third is the fourth must be compare marks with the threshold or boundary values to determine grades of the system, that is in loop also. Then fifth is the output, the grade for a student, that is either the student is pass or fail, that is also an input. Then maintain a total and count if required, it is also an input, and can calculate average by adding total by count and output, that is after loop. So this must be the that depends on you, that first the journal way to write is, that is first must be the count, in first step count of students, and the total marks. Two basically also count, that is loop. Third basically input, that is input individual, yeah, individual marks, that is individual marks, that is marks of each student, that is also in loop. Fourth must be compare marks. So after this must be compare marks, that also in loop. Fifth, then the output, the graph or the grade of output, of grades, that is also in loop, and then maintain total, that is count, so it must be in loop, and seventh one there must be taking the average also, so taking average, so average basically is the after loop. Okay. So this basically is the way to so just you have to assemble it or write in your own words. Now the next one is a student is learning about arrays. She wants to write a program, declare a 1D array rnum of 100 elements of type integer, assign each element a random value in the range 1 to 200 inclusive, count and output how many numbers generated were number 66 and 133, 173 inclusive, and write pseudocode to represent the algorithm. So first one is how to write. So this must be first 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 declare that is the given, that is rnum, declare rnum, so semicolon, this is my given input value, so this must be, what is the declare rnum basically is the array 1 to 100 of an integer, so it must be array 1 semicolon colon, sorry, 100 of integer. So this is basically declare rnum. Now the we have to declare index. So second is the declare index. Declare index, that is count. Count is also integer. So then you have to count. So count must be started from 0. And for index, for index, it must be 1 to, that is the given, that is 1 to 100. Now uh, basically now we define the rnum. So rnum basically is the index. This refers that integer with r and 200, and there must be increment of 1, 200 plus 1. So if rm, I am if rnum, that is index, is greater than equal to 66, 66, and rnum index is less than equals to 156, then then count. This must be the limit I specified. It depends on you that you have specified 50 or uh, these limits will be varying. So it must be done. you have to count, and there must be a new value in the system that count plus 1. So there must be and if so next index and output count. So these are the next input. If the value does not in the rank, so there must be next input, and at last output count. So this is basically the array pseudocode of the algorithm. Now the second is the student uh, decided to modify the algorithm so that each element of the array will contain a unique value. So describe the changes that should needed to make algorithm. So first, initialize the array to proc value or to indicate unassigned values. First is to indicate unassigned unassigned value. Now this is the first step. Now second is the add conditional loop. Add conditional loop. Generate and store a random value. Generate and store a general value. Check the stored value then. This is also so checking. So after this, and that loop is making so exit loop at the end. So this is the description of basically how to make changes in our system. The following pseudocodes line numbers are given for the reference code. This is basically the pseudocode given. So examine the pseudocode and complete the following table. So give a number of codes that are example of initializing statement. So initializing statement is basically is the start, that is there must be